I wanted a husband and a family. Dan needed a wife that could wait on him.
I would have been treated better if I'd been a dog and served my master.
I'm watching a show right now that's based on a real murder case.
Right.
And it's about a woman. She was raised Catholic. She believed in marriage. Gets married to this guy. The guy's in medical school. All right. And, which is obviously a lot of debt you incur before he becomes a doctor. So right as he gets to the end of medical school, he decides he doesn't want to be a doctor. He wants to be a lawyer, and do like malpractice lawsuits. So he goes to law school, and during that time, she was the breadwinner and supported him. So then they finally come out the other side. He makes partner. He's making all this money, and they're living the good life. And then he starts, hooking up with some assistant, has an affair, and ends up leaving his wife for her. Long story short, she snaps, drives her car into the front of his house, into the front door with her own kids in there.
Right.
And eventually she ends up getting a gun and killing both of them.
Okay.
And when I read about the actual case, said this was a landmark case that opened up the debate about women sacrificing their careers to help their guys and then being left with nothing.
Let's just get to the money part. He was taking home $140,000 a month. And she worked hard for all that. She sacrificed. She just got totally cremated.
And I just thought that was the funniest thing ever. That it was like, this was the case that brought that up? Like, this isn't a case about mental illness and maybe gun control? It's like, there's no way if a guy murdered his wife that it would be a landmark case to talk about how the problems that men have with something that women are doing in a case where a guy murdered a woman.
Yeah.
We're dealing with a woman here who has suffered abuse of the most violent kind at the hands of her ex-husband for well over 20 years.
Like O.J. Simpson. This is a great case. This is a landmark case that brought up the fact that wives don't rub their guys' feet enough after a long day out there on the gridiron. Like, you would be tarred and feathered, and it would be the end of your career. And I'm watching the way they're telling the story. I love the show because the acting's incredible. The writing is good. But the way they are making the husband out in this marriage, when I'm watching it, is I am like 3 episodes in. I'm like, oh yeah, she should shoot this guy. Like, this is the way. And this was an actual guy who can't defend himself and is dead.
Uzi graveside ceremony. Emotional terrorism. Victim of this, victim of that. My God, my brother and his wife are dead, and she pulled the trigger, but she's being portrayed as some kind of feminist folk heroine. It's ludicrous.
And his kids are psychologically scarred because of what the ex-wife did, and you're watching it, and the way that they're telling the story. Because I've gotten in an argument with my wife about it. I go, you don't think this is weird? The way they're telling this story? And he goes, well, it's her story. It's like, what, did she write it? There's a difference between being her story and being a story about what she did.
Sure.
This almost seems like it's a defense. Recently, she's been in jail for like 30 years, and recently she was up for parole, and she has some sort of narcissistic defect or whatever. She still sees nothing wrong with what she did.
Okay.
And they won't let her out.
Today, 2 commissioners listened for 11 hours before denying Broderick parole for another 15 years, the maximum. The DA says that lack of remorse, a big reason why.
She is blaming the victims for their own deaths.
I mean, she's an absolute nut job.
Yeah.
I mean, whether she's in a mental health facility, I think is the debate.
Yeah.
And how to just, listen, what that guy did was bad. It was a piece of shit move. You get divorced. That's it. It's not licensed to go murder the guy. But the way they're telling this story, it's just bizarre. The whole thing is bizarre. But I find with like that men woman thing, like, for as much as they're complaining, there's like some really like major issues, like, I don't know, murder.
Yeah.
Where the dialogue is still going in the direction of these poor women.
Yeah. I mean,
now I am 100% in agreement, Richard, that if a woman puts her career aside and then this guy gets all these credits, and then leaves. She is entitled to something.
Betty helped put Dan through law school. And then, 17 years later, when Betty looked like this, a beautiful woman in her 20s caught Dan's eye. Dan left Betty and later married Linda Kolkina.
But I draw the line that she's entitled to go murder him and his new wife. That make me like a misogynistic person?
I don't. I guess not. I haven't seen the show, so I can't massively comment. I would only say that I guess it's, women have experienced it a lot more, I guess, in the other direction. And I suppose there's I think you're right. As a real life, as a drama, there's a vicarious thrill. Like in Breaking Bad, there's a vicarious thrill about that guy.
I might be weird here, where I think if a wife kills a husband or the husband kills a wife, they are equally terrible people and need to go to jail, unless there was some sort of physical abuse by the guy when the woman didn't feel she had. That I understand. Mm-hmm. All right, but whatever. The guy screws around and then leaves you. Then, I mean, that definitely sucks. Yeah. Get a lawyer. Be an adult.
When you ask if she has any remorse, Elizabeth's response,
"Oh, well, remorseful about what? About my entire family and life being destroyed? Yeah, I'm real remorseful about, I have nothing left in life."
The streets are stole from the corners and cracks, don't play your role. Trust in luxury I can't afford. Beat a dog, beef a dog, and lace them up with tips. Kill them all in one shot, never mind these lunatics. Coming back, big and tough, acting don't play it rough. Leaving fuck, so what's up? Bitches better pucker up. I smoke a blunt to get my mind straight. I take a puffin' and pass, and then I hesitate, stay around.